In the Wild West, few stories contain the mystery and intrigue surrounding the life and death of Johnny Ringo. A figure shrouded in the enigma of frontier lore, Ringo's demise is veiled in speculation and ambiguity. As we delve into the dusty pages of history, we embark on a journey to unravel the mysterious death of Johnny Ringo.
What really happened? John Peters Ringo, better known as Johnny Ringo, was an Old West outlaw who fought in the Mason County War in Texas before moving to Tombstone, Arizona, and joining the notorious Clanton Gang. Johnny Ringo, son of Martin and Mary Peters Ringo, had distant Dutch ancestry and was born in what later became the small town of Greens Fork, Clay Township, Wayne County, Indiana. The Ringo family's journey led them to Liberty, Missouri in 1856, establishing ties to the infamous younger brothers through Johnny's aunt Augusta Peters Inskip, who married Coleman P. Younger, uncle of the outlaws. In 1858, the Ringo family relocated to Gallatin, renting property from John W. Sheets' father. Tragically, Sheets became the inaugural official victim of the James Younger Gang when they robbed the Daviess County Savings and Loan Association in 1869. Johnny Ringo, at the age of 14 in 1864, experienced a profound loss while his family traversed Wyoming en route to California. His father, Martin Ringo, met an untimely demise when a shotgun accidentally discharged as he alighted from their wagon. The buckshot tragically entered and exited Martin's head, leading to his burial on a hillside alongside the trail. Departing from his mother, brother, and sisters in San Jose, California in 1869, Ringo sought a new chapter in Mason County, Texas. There, he forged a friendship with ex-Texas Ranger Scott Cooley, adopted son of rancher Tim Williamson. Tensions ignited when American rustlers Elijah and Pete Backus were forcibly taken from the Mason jail and lynched by a predominantly German mob. The conflict escalated on May 13, 1875, with the arrest and murder of Tim Williamson by a hostile posse led by German farmer Peter Badman Bader. Cooley, alongside allies like Johnny Ringo, initiated a reign of terror against their adversaries, sparking the Mason County War, locally known as the Hoodoo War. In a retaliatory act, Cooley took the life of local German ex-deputy sheriff John Worley on August 10, 1875, scalping him and disposing of his body in a well. Cooley, already esteemed as a dangerous Texas Ranger, further solidified his reputation by claiming additional lives during the conflict. Following the shooting of Cooley supporter Moses Baird, Ringo, along with his friend Bill Williams, ended the life of James Cheney on September 25, 1875. They rode to Cheney's house. Cheney, who had led Baird into the ambush, greeted them unarmed, invited them in, and began washing his face on the porch. Seeing that the opportunity had come, both Ringo and Williams quickly shot him. The duo then attempted a similar encounter with Dave Dool, who emerged armed, prompting Ringo and Williams to hastily retreat into town. Sometime later, Scott Cooley and Johnny Ringo mistakenly identified Charlie Bader as his brother Pete, resulting in Charlie's untimely demise. Subsequently, both Ringo and Cooley found themselves incarcerated in Burnett, Texas, under the watchful eye of Sheriff A.J. Strickland. However, the duo's escape from confinement, aided by their associates, marked the beginning of their separate journeys to elude the authorities. The tumultuous Mason County War concluded around November 1876, following a trail of about a dozen fatalities. Amid speculations of Scott Cooley's demise, Johnny Ringo and his comrade George Gladden found themselves behind bars. Ringo was said to share a cell with notorious outlaw John Wesley Hardin. While Gladden was sentenced to 99 years, Ringo appears to have been acquitted. Fast forward 2 years, and Ringo emerged as a constable in Loyal Valley, Texas, before embarking on a journey that would lead him to the vast landscapes of Arizona. Life in Tombstone, Arizona. Johnny Ringo made his initial appearance in Cochise County, Arizona Territory, in 1879, alongside Joseph Graves Olney, known as Joe Hill, a companion from the Mason County War. The turbulent nature that defined Ringo's past resurfaced in December 1879 when, under the influence, he shot Lewis Hancock in a Safford, Arizona saloon. The altercation sparked when Hancock declined a complimentary whiskey, expressing a preference for beer. Remarkably, Hancock survived the shooting. Soon after arriving in Tombstone, Arizona, he met editor Sam Purdy of the Tombstone Epitaph, who later writes of their talk. He said that he was as certain of being killed as he was of living then. He said that he might run along for a couple years more and may not last 2 days. There, Ringo connected with the Clanton Gang, a group of outlaws commonly known as the Cowboys around Tombstone. Ringo himself was called the King of the Cowboys. He was also famous for having a bad temper. Local newspapers, sometimes humorously mistakenly, referred to him as Ringgold. In the 1882 Cochise County Great Register, Ringo characterized himself as a speculator. Confrontation with Doc Holliday. On January 17, 1882, tensions escalated between Johnny Ringo and Doc Holliday, culminating in exchanged threats that hinted at an imminent gunfight. Tombstone's chief of police, James Flynn, intervened, apprehending both men for carrying weapons within city limits. Subsequently, they faced legal consequences and were fined after appearing before Judge William H. Stillwell. The lingering charges against Ringo, relating to a robbery in Galeyville, prompted his rearrest on January 20th, leading to a weekend behind bars. The Earps later suspected Ringo's involvement in the ambush of Virgil Earp on December 28, 1881, which left him permanently disabled, as well as the murder of Morgan Earp on March 18, 1882, while he was engaged in a game of pool at a Tombstone saloon. After the killing of Frank Stillwell by Deputy U.S. Marshal Wyatt Earp and his posse in Tucson on March 20, 1882, a vendetta ensued. In pursuit of those deemed responsible for the ambush of Virgil and Morgan Earp, Wyatt Earp and a federal posse embarked on a mission of retribution. Cochise County Sheriff Johnny Bahan, armed with warrants obtained from a Tucson judge for the arrest of the Earps and Holliday, deputized Johnny Ringo and 19 other men, many of whom were associates of Stillwell and the Cochise County Cowboys. During the Earp vendetta ride, Wyatt Earp engaged in a fatal gunfight with Curly Bill Brocious, a close friend of Ringo, at Iron Springs, later known as Mescal Springs, approximately 20 miles from Tombstone. According to Earp, Florentino Cruz confessed to being the lookout during Morgan's murder and identified Ringo, Stillwell, Swilling, and Brocious as the perpetrators. However, modern researchers cast doubt on the accuracy of Earp's account. Despite the local posse closing in on the federal posse near Henry C. Hooker's ranch, they never confronted the Earp lawmen. Former Pima County Sheriff Bob Paul, who had been present in Tombstone, disputed earlier stories riddled with errors and claimed that the Earp posse had disclosed their location to Behan's posse through Hooker. However, the posse chose to head in the opposite direction. The mysterious death of Johnny Ringo. Taking in the 4th of July festivities, Ringo drinks heavily, carousing with his many pards. When Ringo rides out of Tombstone several days later, he takes extra bottles of liquor for the road. Deputy Billy Breckenridge saw him 2 days later near Dial's Ranch in the South Pass of the Dragoon Mountains. He later wrote that, "It was shortly after noon. Ringo was very drunk, reeling in the saddle, and said he was going to Gaileyville. It was in the summer and a very hot day. He offered me a drink out of a bottle half full of whiskey, and he had another full bottle. I tasted it, and it was too hot to drink. It burned my lips. Knowing that he would have to ride nearly all night before he could reach Gaileyville, I tried to get him to go back with me to the Goodrich Ranch and wait until after sundown, but he was drunk and stubborn and went on his way. I think this was the last time he was seen alive. At approximately 3 p.m. on July 13th, ranch hands from a nearby ranch reported hearing a gunshot. Teamster James Yost, in the course of hauling wood, discovered Ringo's lifeless body on July 14th, seated amidst a cluster of 5 large black-jack oaks growing in a semicircle from a common root. Positioned at the center was a sizable flat rock, offering a comfortable seat. The location was no more than 700 feet from Smith's house in West Turkey Creek Valley, near Chiricahua Peak in Arizona Territory. The scorching desert sun had already darkened his body. Strips of cloth torn from his undershirt were wound around his feet. Ringo had parted ways with his horse, and his boots were secured to the saddle. The coroner's examination revealed a bullet hole in his right temple, with the exit wound at the back of his head. The fatal trajectory was upward at a 45-degree angle between the right eye and ear. Still clutched in his right hand was Ringo's Colt Single-Action Army .45 revolver, containing 5 cartridges. The hammer rested on the empty chamber. A knife cut was found at the base of his scalp, as if someone had cut it with a knife. 11 days later, his horse was found about 2 miles away, with Ringo's boots still attached to the saddle. The official verdict from a coroner's inquest deemed his demise a suicide. Ringo's remains find their resting place near the base of the tree where they were originally discovered, now situated on private property. Accessible through a nearby gate along a road, the grave offers visitors a glimpse of the solemn site. Despite the coroner's formal determination and concurrent newspaper narratives that frequently alluded to Ringo's expressed intent to end his own life, fostering the expectation of such an event, various dubious theories surrounding Ringo's demise have surfaced over the years. Some contend that the absence of powder burns on his head implies a shot from a distance, although the coroner's jury report remains silent on this matter. Additionally, Ringo's body, already undergoing decomposition, had taken on a dark hue. Robert Bowler, a member of the coroner's jury, recounted in 1934, "I showed James Yost where the bullet had entered the tray on the left side. Blood and brains were oozing from the wound and matted his hair. There was an empty shell in the 6-shooter, and the hammer was on that. I called it a suicide 52 years ago. I am still calling it suicide. I guess I'm the last of the coroner's jury." Wyatt Her Claims. According to the account presented in the book I Married Wyatt Earp, purportedly compiled from manuscripts authored by Wyatt Earp's third wife, Josephine Marcus Earp, Wyatt and Doc Holliday, accompanied by a group of friends, returned to Arizona in early July. In West Turkey Creek Valley, they allegedly encountered Ringo encamped. As Ringo sought to escape up the canyon, Earp purportedly shot him with a rifle. However, Glenn Boyer, who claimed to have assembled the book from Josephine's manuscripts, faced skepticism as he refused to disclose the source documents. Critics found his explanations conflicting and lacking credibility. Alan Barra, a contributor to the New York Times, dismissed I Married Wyatt Earp as a recognized hoax by Earp researchers. On the other hand, Tombstone historian Ben T. Trawick considered the story plausible, arguing that only Earp had a sufficient motive, was likely in the vicinity at the time, and, towards the end of his life, provided a historian with circumstantial details about Ringo's alleged killing. In 1888, Earp was interviewed by an agent of California historian Hubert H. Bancroft, and in 1932, Frank Lockwood, The author of Pioneer Days in Arizona claimed Earp told them he killed Ringo as he departed Arizona in March 1882, almost 4 months before Ringo's reported death. However, Earp's account included details inconsistent with known facts about Ringo's demise. Earp reiterated his narrative to at least 3 other individuals. In a 1896 interview with a Denver reporter, he denied involvement in Ringo's death. Yet later, privately, he again asserted his role in the incident. Doc Holliday's story. The Holliday hypothesis closely mirrors the Earp theory, with the key difference being that Holliday is implicated as the one who allegedly killed Ringo. Another variation, popularized in the film Tombstone, suggests that Holliday substituted for Earp after accepting Ringo's challenge to a gunfight and shot him. Court records from the Pueblo County, Colorado District Court indicate that Holliday and his lawman attended court sessions on July 11th, 14th, and 18, 1882 to address larceny charges. However, a writ of capias issued on the 11th implies that he may not have actually appeared in court on that specific date. Ringo's lifeless body was discovered on the 14th. Interestingly, 6 days prior to Ringo's demise, the Pueblo Daily Chieftain reported Holliday's presence in Salida, Colorado, approximately 670 miles away from Turkey Creek, Arizona, and later in Lidville, around 700 miles distant, on July 18th. Given the outstanding arrest warrant for Holliday in Arizona related to his alleged involvement in the murder of Frank Stillwell, it seems improbable that he would have entered Arizona during that period. Michael O'Rourke's story. Some narratives attribute the demise of Johnny Ringo to Michael O'Rourke, a wandering gambler apprehended in Tucson in January 1881 under suspicion of murdering a mining engineer named Henry Schneider. According to accounts, Wyatt Earp intervened to prevent O'Rourke from facing a lynching orchestrated by a mob led by Ringo. O'Rourke managed to escape from jail in April 1881, evading trial for the murder charges. The final confirmed sighting of O'Rourke occurred in the Dragoon Mountains near Tombstone in May 1881, appearing well-mounted and equipped, seemingly on his way out of the territory. Subsequent references to O'Rourke are shrouded in unverified rumors and legends. One such tale suggests that, motivated by a combination of a debt owed to Earp and a grudge against Ringo, O'Rourke returned to Arizona in 1882 to track down and kill Ringo. While some sources find this narrative plausible, skeptics argue that O'Rourke, akin to Holliday, would likely have been hesitant to re-enter Arizona with an outstanding murder warrant, especially for the purpose of committing another homicide. Frank Leslie claims. While incarcerated in the Yuma Territorial Prison for the murder of his wife, Buckskin, Frank Leslie purportedly disclosed to a prison guard that he was responsible for Ringo's death. Skepticism surrounded Leslie's claim, with many doubting the authenticity of his confession. Some speculated that he might have fabricated the admission either to win favor with Earp's close associates or to attain some form of notoriety. Who was the mysterious killer of Johnny Ringo? In the assessment of researcher and writer Steve Gatto, it likely wasn't Wyatt Earp, and certainly wasn't Buckskin Frank Leslie or Johnny behind the deuce. Upon scrutinizing all available evidence, the authenticity of the coroner's report stands firm. Evolution of a legend. How did an individual identified as a speculator and frequent drinker with little history of murder or gunplay become famous as one of the most notorious figures in history of gunslingers in the Old West? Ringo was a mysterious man. He had a college education, but was reserved and morose. He drank heavily as if to drown his troubles. He was a perfect gentleman when sober, but inclined to be quarrelsome when drinking. He was a good shot and afraid of nothing, and had great authority with the rustling element. Billy Breckenridge, Eldorado, 1928. John Ringo's image was created for him by inaccuracies of innumerable writers, and I believe that he remains a Western figure largely because of the mellifluous tonal quality of his name. Jack Burrows, John Ringo, the gunfighter who never was, 1987. Other interesting information. In the 1920s, Tombstone deputy Billy Breckenridge, one of the final individuals to witness Ringo's existence, journeyed to the secluded burial ground and perched in the branches of the tree while an associate captured a photograph. Upon film development, a spectral visage materialized above Breck's head, prompting divergent interpretations. Some contend it is Ringo's ghost, while others attribute it to distortions inherent in the film development process. He was recognized by friends and foes as a recklessly brave man who would go any distance or undergo any hardship to serve a friend or punish an enemy. He practiced with that deadly gun, and hour on hour I watched in awe. No human being could match the draw of Ringo. Ringo is a popular song written by Don Robertson and Hal Blair.
Please like and share if you find the video content interesting and useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment below so as not to miss the upcoming interesting videos. Thanks for watching.